from the top, bring it down so it drops all around. And you can see with no frown, just a smile. Might take a while to get it through, but that's just what I do. So the thought for today I got for you, I'm talking about scared money don't make money. What's that about, right? Mainly investing, right? So you can't be afraid about flipping your money. You can't be afraid about flipping your cash. If anything, you should be afraid about leaving your stash in the bank, because that's just going to tank. Talking about inflation rates going up, it's not going to keep up with the interest that they're paying you there. So really, you got to be aware. So what I'm going to talk about today is really how to get over this fear of flipping your money, get over this fear of investing, how to get over the fear of failure that comes with it. Going to look at how to stop being reactive to fear. Just stay clear from that. So we're going to talk about how to stop being controlled by fear. Going to talk about risk management, what it is and how to understand it. Going to talk about how to really start investing if you're a beginner. Of course, I'm going to look at all the basics. I'm going to look at the mindset behind that. Really like the law of attraction, how it applies, what to focus on. So going to look at my own personal experience with this subject. So really, like when I first started investing money into the financial markets, I really had like little to no idea what I was doing. However, I did have an understanding about, how to teach myself new skills, right? So I realized that failure was a part of learning. Like just figuring anything out, like it's really rare that everything is going to go right the first time. I mean, and honestly, if it does, that's kind of a bad thing in some cases, because then, it was probably just luck. And then you just start coasting thinking that everything's good. And then something happens later and, you never had to deal with it before when it could have been a small mistake and it turns into a bigger mistake. So, I researched a lot of, successful people when it came to investing, growing their money, flipping their cash. And they all seem to have a few things in common. One thing was they all lost like a decent amount of money before they became successful. Another thing was that none of them ever gave up. Even if, things got kind of frustrating and they had to take a break for a minute, they all came back and they all just refreshed themselves on the subject, came back even better than before. So I was very careful not to talk about my early investments with people who were not successful investors themselves. But now I have a much better understanding about investing, and people who know me know that I invest the majority of my money instead of keeping it in the bank, right? So a lot of people try to tell me, that investing is very risky. I'm just wasting my money. I should be careful. I'm going to lose it all, stuff like that, right? They tell me that, when it comes to like trading, that only high frequency trading robots or bots or whatever you want to call it are the ones that are making money, right? They tell me that I should just pay someone to manage my money for me. They really just scoff and shake their head like I'm stupid, I don't know what I'm doing. But one thing that all these people who come at me with this negativity have in common is they are not successful investors themselves. And they're afraid of investing in anything other than the most basic investments that they have the least amount of control over. And a lot of these people too even pay someone else just to handle things for them, and I mean, that's their choice. But at the same time, these are the same people that are going to be telling me or even anyone else that's going to get into this game that, what they're doing is wrong. But these are the same people, when I really break down what I'm doing with them, they have no clue. And I try to ask them, the stuff they're trying to tell me, and I can tell they don't know what they're talking about. But, it's not even worth my time to really, I'm not trying to argue with these people. I'm just trying to focus on, growing my money, getting more money so I can help more people, so I can really live the life that I'm trying to live. So, go ahead and hit the likes if you haven't already. Go ahead and leave any comments or questions, anything you want to know. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell notification. So yeah, now I'm gonna get into really like first kind of the mindset. Then I'm gonna go into like how to take action, getting into this, right? So the more you do something, the more comfortable you become. So like once you understand what you're doing, you're gonna do it better every time you do it. And the more comfortable you become, the less fear you have. So yeah, you want to be getting rid of this fear and increasing comfort. So when you don't understand something, you're obviously going to be like less comfortable doing it. And you don't know how to do something, so it'll take some education and practice to become successful. And a lot of people are afraid of things that they don't understand. And this is going to make it very difficult to get started and even more difficult to take action. Most people, what I see when when people come to me and, they say like, wow, I see like what you're doing. That's pretty awesome. Like, how can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, and, no problem. I'll tell you everything I know. It's pretty easy. I would have to say, maybe like 2% of people actually like end up doing it. So many people think it's so awesome at first, but then they just, they come up with all these reasons why they can't do it. It's not going to work for them. Someone else told them that it's never going to work, and whatever. But hey, that's fine. I'm just trying to like put my ideas out there, and hopefully over time more and more people will understand that, yeah, it's a lot of easy ways to make money out here in your sleep. Passive income is a lot easier than getting a job. Plus, the best part of all that is you're really like working on what you're passionate about. You're really moving towards like what you want to see. You're going towards your own goals and dreams, not somebody else's. You control your schedule, you control all that, right? So yeah, getting back to what I'm saying, failure is a part of learning, and it will be associated with taking action to do something new. So if failure is feared or considered to be bad or negative, you're going to be more likely to give up after failing instead of learning from it. Plus, like the more you focus on failure is really like a negative thing. The more likely you're going to see it. The more you focus on success and you realize that failure is just part of it and failure is just going to make you learn, and you just stay focused on success, whenever you do have a failure, you'll look at it as like an opportunity to learn something new. So yeah, over time you can just, condition your mind to just see that failure is not really all that people make it out to be. So anyways, when your mind perceives danger, it's associated with like a certain event or person or action. It's going to try to justify that there is some threat and that you're not going to think it's wise to take action. Flipping and investing money always comes with some risk. There's different levels of risk associated with different kinds of investments. The more you educate yourself and understand a certain form of investing, the more comfortable you'll be putting your money into that. And the more fear or doubt you have about an investment, the more likely you're going to be to lose money. So you got to stop being reactive to fear and start facing it with like a conscious response. Once you face your fear, it'll begin to disappear. Once your fear has disappeared, you're going to begin to become comfortable. And once you're comfortable, you're going to learn much quicker and become successful, like way quicker, right? And this really applies to everything, anything you do. So when you react to fear in your life, it's going to control you, and you're not going to be comfortable. The first step to getting rid of your fear about learning something new, about, flipping your money, about putting it into some kind of investment, is that you got to get rid of all the fear associated with committing to something until you're successful. To do this, you really, it just really helps to be really clear about why you're doing something. In this case, making money in the first place, right? So, if you just want to make money so you can be rich and you don't really understand it farther than that, it's not going to be easy for you to continue doing something after you face some kind of adversity. But if you have like some specific concrete reasons why you want this money, like what are you going to use it for? Like who are you going to help? Like how is your life going to be better because of it? Then it makes it a lot easier to stay on course. Stay focused on the positive. So who are you doing it for? What is motivating you? And one way to do this is to ask somebody that you respect and trust to check with you to make sure that you're staying on track. So a good way a lot of people use is so tell this person that you'll give them a certain amount of money, maybe like $100 if you give up, and tell them like, hey, check on me, make sure, ask me what I'm doing, what kind of progress have I made, and if I ever say, I'm just gonna give up, I'm not gonna do this anymore, then I'll give you that $100, right? And in the case of investing, I mean, that would make it a lot easier too, because if you start out investing $100 into something, you can look at it like, well, would I rather put the money and flip it, or would I rather give it to this person who's holding me accountable? So this is going to motivate them to check in with you and motivate you not to lose the money. And this works really well because you're basically making a bet with someone, but they have nothing to lose. So they're going to almost always take you up on your offer. Now, how do you stop being controlled by fear and start putting your hard-earned money to work for you? You have to become comfortable with taking risks. You have to see flipping or investing money as something like a game, right? Like you keep score with the numbers. Don't think about money as value when you're investing it, right? Already just look at it as a number. Like as soon as you invest it, you can't think about, oh, well, I could have bought this meal at this restaurant, or I could have bought gone out to the bar or whatever. I mean, look at it as like, hey, this is the money that I'm flipping. This is the money that I'm investing in. It's going to come back to me even bigger. So be all right with losing some money, That's just part of the game. That's just part of the process of learning. But you got to understand that you're not going to make any money keeping your money in the bank. You got to understand that after you pay someone a fee to manage your money, you're not going to be making very much money. And the person making the fee will likely be making more than you in most cases. So that really comes down to, what is risk management? So I'm going to talk about how to understand risk management. And risk management is when you understand how much money you can potentially lose and how much control you have over that amount of money when you go to flip it, when you go to make an investment. Some investments, they're going to give you no control, and you have the potential to lose all your money. And these investments, really, if that's the way it is, if you have no control and you could potentially lose everything, they should have like a ridiculously high rate of return, or else it's not even worth it. So when making these types of investments, you should understand everything there is to know about the investment and only invest as much as you can afford to lose. Like with that kind of investment, just look at it all like, hey, I might as well be gambling, right? Like this could just be like a lottery ticket. Like I could probably lose everything. But yeah, that's, definitely don't think of investing and flipping as gambling. Like gambling, the odds are never in your favor. If you understand risk management and you know how to invest and flip your money right, then the odds are going to be in your favor. So really, I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your money. But I think it's smart to only invest in the type of investments in like the really risky potential to lose all your money investments after you're already a very experienced investor. So what are the best investments for beginners to take on? These would be the kind of investments where you have complete control over how much you can potentially lose. Basically, an investment where you can automatically get your money back after you lose a certain percentage, right? So you're only risking a certain percentage that you have control over. And if you lose that amount, you're not going to lose any more. So here's the basics of risk management. Let's say you want to flip $100. Most people wouldn't risk more than like 2%. So if you invest the entire $100, you should set an order or be able to set some kind of mark so that you automatically get out of your investment after you lose $2, which would be 2% of $100. And of course, like different investments have different risks. And that's kind of like another topic, another video for another day, how to, really look at an investment, something that you're flipping your money into, and realizing like what kind of risk you have to take to be safe. And one investment might require you to risk like 5%, and another investment might require you to risk like 1% to be safe. So if you have $100, you should only put a portion of that into the investment that has a 5% risk. So this would be about $45, right? Because then if you lost 5% of that, it would be about 2% of your original $100, instead of, putting the whole 100 in a 5% risk and losing $5. So another good rule for flipping your money and making it work for you is if you're uncomfortable with putting money into an investment, then you're most likely putting too much money into it. And this is something that you really just got to learn over time by doing it, right? And it's a different number for everybody else. So everybody's going to have different amount of money that makes them comfortable or uncomfortable when they flip it. So yeah, just once you do put amount of money in and you feel, uncomfortable with it being in a market or being in some kind of investment, just go ahead and reduce that amount of money that you're flipping at one time until you're comfortable with it, right? Until, it doesn't keep you up at night, until you're not worried about it. And over time, you're going to get better at flipping money, you're going to get better at investing, and you're going to become more comfortable with adding more and more money at one time. And this should coincide, really, like I'm saying, with your learning curve. So you're going to become better at what you're doing over time, and you're going to be able to become comfortable with more money. And of course, that's going to really, change your mindset about like money having, little amounts of money having a lot of value. And you'll be able to, see little amounts of money as really being nothing. And then that's also going to help with, like why even go after small change? Why even try to like pinch pennies or like focus on pennies? You should just be focusing on larger amounts, because you're going to see like, well, small change is really nothing, right? Like I'll just flip that. Like that's nothing. So yeah, you want to focus on one type of investment at a time, really until you understand it, and then move on to the next. And there's a lot of different types of investments. Just looking at financial markets, you got stocks, you got bonds, you got options, you got futures, you got crypto, you got all different kinds, right? You got individual companies, you got, different types of trading. I would recommend swing trading. It's probably really the best thing to get started to looking into. So for the next move, you're really in luck, because a lot of the most trusted investing platforms, really as of like last week, they're now free to make trades. Like all these platforms, used to be like, $5 to just even like get into an investment, and then another like $5 just to get your money out. And in the past, you would have to pay these fees that would cut from your profit. And people in the past would always have to consider like, okay, well, what is my, risk to reward ratio? What am I looking at possibly making? And then they'd have to go and subtract the amount of fees they would have to pay from that before they would even decide if it was a smart investment. So, obviously, if someone's trying to learn and get started with small amounts of money, that's going to make it very difficult to make any profit at all, because, the platforms used to be, which are a lot of them owned by banks, used to be taking everybody's money. Well, what happened was one platform, really disrupted all the other big players, the industry players that have been around for a long time. They came along and said, hey, we're going to have free trading. So what happened? A lot of people started moving to that platform. So to keep up, all these other, industries decided, well, we have to make sure that we have free trading too. Otherwise, no one's going to use our services anymore, because, they're all moving to this other platform. Well, that's just how it works. Like I'm saying, like one small company can go and disrupt, these huge industry giants that have been doing things for so long. And from what I understand, these fees that they were taking, really only accounted for like 2 to 3% of their profits. So the whole time they would have been all right not taking these fees from people. But of course, when they did when they did announce like, hey, we're going to stop charging these fees, the majority of investors were like, yeah, that's awesome. Now I can go back to using this platform, because some of these platforms do have like, better education, like they're more easy to use, stuff like that. But the people who got mad were the only people who didn't like it really were like the CEOs, some of these CEOs and shareholders, because they are like, oh, well, we're going to lose like 2 to 3% of our stock price. But it's like, hey, look how many people are going to be benefiting from this. But, that's what's up. That's what it is. Like, a lot of people are trying to scrape every little dollar that they can from people who are just trying to make everything count when they're really making nothing. But that's like another story for another day. So yeah, going back to what I was saying, understand that the most successful investors are people who have way more money than they need. So they don't fear losing a small percentage of it, right? These are people who usually have spent a lot of years investing before they became really good at it. And like once they get to a point where like, they got more money than they could ever use, then it's like money doesn't really have any like value to them anymore. They're not afraid to lose. So they get really good at investing because they lose all that fear, and they're not like flipping their money based off of emotion. They're not entering an investment looking at the risk to reward with any kind of emotion in mind. They're just going strictly off of the numbers, strictly off of data, stuff like that. No fear. So yeah, these people have little to no fear about losing money because they understand risk management. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to get into for today. Hope you got some value out of what I had to say. Gonna go ahead and end this with a quote from a real famous investor, entrepreneur, a really just good person who taught a lot of people about, how to make money, how to become successful. Man's name is Dale Carnegie, and the quote goes like this: "Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy." That means just go out and start flipping that money. And I mean, you can do that at home. Just go up and look at these platforms that are all free now. Start with that. A lot of them have free education, like I'm saying. It's a lot of just sites on the internet, videos that are going to be able to teach you about different types of investments. And over time, I plan on, really breaking down some of these investments and putting out videos about them myself. But for now, I just wanted to, get into the whole mindset, the whole thought process behind, scared money don't make money. So yeah, go ahead. If you haven't already, hit the likes. Go ahead and comment any questions that you have. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. That's it for today. I'm out.